Okay, I am audible now, right? Okay, sorry guys. Okay, how are you everyone? So, let's say once again, welcome to our daily Hindu newspaper analysis, right? Okay, yes, okay. Okay, students, we're gonna start the session for today, right? Okay, the first thing that I want to tell you that this is our course that is being running parallelly. If you want to join it, it's basically Ignited Current Affairs course, right? So basically, here we not only cover current affairs from the Hindu perspective, but from the perspective of Indian Express, from Hindu Business Line, Down to Earth, Yojana and PIB. And those students who want to avail this facility, they can contact on this number or on this email ID and you will get the required response that you guys need in order to join the basic this current affair course. This course is basically available to the students if they want to join it at a very nominal cost, that is for 999, and for our in-house we could say students it is available at 499. So those who want to do more related to current affairs apart from the Hindu newspaper, they can certainly join this Ignited Current Affair course batch and see the benefits they would avail after that, after they had availed this batch, right? So this was the little information that I wanted to share with you guys. Okay, so I'm going to start the session for today. Okay, so this was our basic headline. It is related to this Cyclone Mandos, very important. This is related to this Cyclone Mandos that has recently made the landfall. That has recently made a landfall at the place called Mamallapuram. Okay, we have heard about various cyclones that make the landfall that comes in the newspapers, right? So this is also a very important, we could say, cyclone that has made a landfall at Mamallapuram. This is basically in Tamil Nadu. Okay. So as a result, if such a cyclone comes with such an intensity, obviously there shall be a disaster response team who needs to, let's say, respond to that particular situation. In this case, that is Cyclone Mandos. So there is a disaster response teams that are basically now handling the situation of this intense rainfall that this Cyclone Mandos has brought along with itself. So you guys need to understand about this Cyclone Mandos. Nothing more than that, but just you need to know the names and where it has made its landfall, right? Okay. Moving on to the next news. Now this news is very important. As you can see, 3 Himalayan medicinal plants enter IUCN red list. Very important. Those who are live with us, can they write in the comment box what is the full form of IUCN? And when was this first time this red list prepared by IUCN? Quickly you can write down in the comment box so that I know what you guys know about this IUCN, right? Okay. IUCN is basically International Union for the Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, right? It is International Union for the Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. It has a specific red list. It has a red list that is basically, we could say, classifying the species according to the threat of extinction or to the threat of vulnerability. So we have in the starting like extinct, extinct in the wild, critically endangered, endangered and vulnerable and near threatened. So in this regard, this news becomes very important that 3 plant species have made it to the IUCN red list of threatened species following a recent assessment. So there are 3 basically species that have entered this IUCN red list. We need to know more about these species in detail that was discussed in this particular article, right? Okay. Let's try to see. The first species that they are talking about is Mesotropis pellita. Very important. This particular species is Mesotropis pellita. Commonly known as patwa, is a perennial shrub with restricted distribution that is endemic to Uttarakhand. Now this species is particularly available in Uttarakhand and it is listed as critically endangered. I told you about the classification. So this species is particularly critically endangered. There are certain threats to this species as well, that is deforestation, habitat fragmentation and forest fires. And the essential oil, if we extract from the leaves, possesses strong antioxidants that could be used in pharmaceutical industry. So this was a little bit about this one particular species that has been listed as critically endangered. There are two more species. Let's try to look at them as well. The second is Fritillary cirrhosa, that is Himalayan fritillary. It is basically listed as vulnerable according to the IUCN red list. Very, very important. If we talk about IUCN, it is declared in the vulnerable category, and it has a long generation length, poor germination potential, and it has a high trade value, extensive harvesting pressure, and illegal trade. In China, this species is used for the treatment of bronchial disorders and pneumonia. Very, very important. ये जो species है ये disorders and pneumonia को treat करने के लिए use की जाती है. That is particularly this species which has been categorized as vulnerable, right? Okay. There is also the third species as well, that is Dicotyledonous hatagira. It is threatened by habitat loss, livestock grazing, deforestation, and climate change. So this was the third species that this particular article was telling us about, and we need to know the names of these species as well, because we have seen in the prelims as well there are certain questions that are asked related to the IUCN status as well. So we need to know where they are being found, what is the problem with them, what are the reasons for their habitat loss, or what are the dangers to that particular species, and which area they are basically found in, right? So this was a very important article from that perspective. Okay. Now this is a very interesting editorial that came in the newspaper, right? It says, expand the food safety net without any more delay. Expand the food safety net without any more delay. I think everyone must be knowing that we basically provide subsidized food grains under our National Food Security Act that was introduced in the year 2013, right? So its aim was to cover, let's say, beneficiaries around 75% of the rural population and 50% of the urban population. 75% and 50% of the, we could say, rural or 50% urban population. But there is a recent criticism if we talk about this National Food Security Act, that as the population has been increasing, whether we are able to inculcate more beneficiaries or not. Right now we have beneficiaries that are being let's say availing this facility of National Food Security Act according to the 2011 census. Very, very important. अभी भी जो हम प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं 2011 सेंसस के ऊपर प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, and according to that we have roughly 800 million people who are under the net of National Food Security Act. So this article is saying that we have around this people, but they are according to the 2011 census. We have now gone beyond that as well. We have covered or past 11 years now. Has there been any changes in the beneficiaries, or we have increased the number of beneficiaries with respect to coverage of this National Food Security Act? No, we didn't. हमने इसको बढ़ाया नहीं है. We haven't covered the increase or made a list of increase in the beneficiaries. Yes, one thing is that we say that census comes after every 10 years, right? But अभी तक 2021 वाला census पूरा नहीं हुआ है. There has been no census in the year 2021, and along with it there are no, we could say, projection of the population as well that has been used. Let's say we have a population projection that year by year after 2011 we have a certain increase in the number of the people. So we must have added those persons who would have availed the facility and come under the bracket of National Food Security Act. So this article wants to say, as census has not been done in the 2021, which has been postponed, and the year by year projections have not been taken into account while looking at the beneficiaries if we talk about National Food Security Act. As a result, the number of beneficiaries have, let's say, been constant at this 800 million people. Whether they had said in the, let's say, the article, or we could say in the National Food Security Act, that they would try to cover 75% of the rural population and 50% of the urban population, but that population is increasing, but they are not getting the required benefit. So they want those beneficiaries to be included without any more delay. Is it clear, guys? So this was a basic article that this wanted to convey us about this National Food Security Act, right? So I have told you as well. Okay, we would come to Chetu's statement as well, right? Bangalore में rains आ रही हैं. Okay, you need to resolve the border issue. I think Amit Shah is gonna meet the chief ministers of Mumbai and let's say Maharashtra and Karnataka, right? Okay. So this was this article that was discussing about this National Food Security Act. I hope you are clear with this. Okay. Now this is very, very important. There have been certain developments in the space arena. Very, very important. This is very, very important. Hot test of scramjet engine conducted successfully. First thing. Second, Vikram Sarabhai Space Center gets new trisonic wind tunnel. Now we need to look into these two things separately. The first thing is about this scramjet engine hot test. Very, very important. So the first question that comes to our mind is where this test was being conducted. It was conducted at ISRO's Propulsion Research Complex at Mahendragiri in Tirunelveli district of Tamil Nadu. Very, very important. First of all, ये कहाँ पे टेस्ट कंडक्ट किया गया है? It is conducted in the Propulsion Research Complex in Tamil Nadu. And who is the ISRO chairman? Basically S. Somnath. Now what about this scramjet engine? What is its advantage? The scramjet engine is a advanced version of the ramjet engine which can operate at, we could say, hypersonic speeds. Very, very important. It could operate efficiently at hypersonic speeds. It allows supersonic combustion by breathing oxygen from the atmosphere during the flight, which then allows oxygen to mix with hydrogen stored in the vehicle to trigger combustion and produce the thrust to lift the satellite to designated orbit. If the engine can breathe oxygen from the atmosphere, then nearly 70% of the propellant that has to be carried in the vehicle, it could be freed from that. The thing they want to say is this scramjet engine can work at a very good speeds. It contain oxygen from the atmosphere and can result in its mixing. That would provide the required, we could say, thrust that would take the satellite to its desired orbit. So this would reduce the, let's say, we could make sure that we could reduce the load of our vehicle. That is, we can take oxygen from the atmosphere. Now this thing is very, very important, right? Okay. I hope you are able to get this point, and the important facts that we have: who is the chairman of ISRO, what is this scramjet engine, and where this test was conducted, right? Okay. The second thing is Vikram Sarabhai Space Center gets new trisonic wind tunnel. Very, very important. Now the question comes, what is this trisonic wind tunnel? This is basically, wind tunnels are the devices used to study the effect of air on solid objects. Very, very important. Air का effect क्या होगा solid objects के ऊपर, that is the basic purpose of wind tunnel, and Vikram Sarabhai Space Center has become, let's say, new trisonic wind tunnel. What are the solid objects they want to test the effect of air? It is basically the ISRO rockets and spacecraft. Very, very important. Very, very important कि एयर का फ्लो का उसके ऊपर क्या इंपैक्ट होगा अगर हम स्पेसक्राफ्ट की बात कर रहे हैं. Stored gases are released and blown through the tunnel's test section, simulating flight conditions. Basically, they want to simulate flight conditions through this basically trisonic wind tunnel, so that we could have an idea related to spacecraft and could have a simulation in this, let's say, field of space technology, right? So now we have got, or we could say we are advancing well into the space industry. And we know there is a lot of potential for India to, let's say, invest in this space industry, and considering our achievements in the fields of space applications as well. Now India, we could say, take money from the countries and put their satellites into the orbit. So it has become now, we could say, monetized as well. Our space industry has now become monetized as well, right? So these were very two important articles related to this developments in the space arena, right? So very, very important. Okay. Now see, the newspapers that have been coming around like yesterday and today are more focusing on the victory celebration of BJP, how they were able to carve out a model that they used and acquired such a big win in the state of Gujarat, and what would happen in Himachal Pradesh. So nothing much concrete is coming in the newspaper, that anything is there, we are trying to extract that and discuss with you, right? Okay, this is well related, all related to my branch. Nice, आपकी branch से related है. Thank you ma'am. Okay. ILO Declaration urges countries to ensure labor protection. Now very, very important. Recently, at the 17th Asia and Pacific Regional Meeting of ILO, International Labour Organization, can anyone tell me when this ILO was founded? Quickly write down in the comment box when this ILO was founded. Hanji guys. Waiting for your response. Till the time I would tell you that this meeting happened of ILO, basically of the Asia and the Pacific region. There they adopted a Singapore Declaration. Very, very important. They adopted basically the Singapore Declaration. Now there are certain things they want to have, let's relate it to the labor. What are those things? Labor protection for all through promotion of freedom of association and the effective recognition of the right to collective bargaining throughout the regions. Called for closing gender gaps in the world of the work through measures that would increase women's labor force participation, promote equal pay for equal work, promoting women's leadership, also urge the governments to strengthen governance frameworks and for freedom of association to protect the rights of migrant workers. Basically, this Singapore Declaration has been adopted at this meeting of the ILO, where they are talking about the rights of the laborers. We could say their freedom to form associations, right? And along with that, they are trying to recognize the role of the woman. Very, very important. कि women का role बड़ा important है कि we have to respect the women, we have to provide them equal pay for equal work, and we have to mold them so that they can become or achieve leadership qualities. And for the governments, they want to, let's say, ask them to frame better governance frameworks so that they could secure the rights of the migrants, if we call about it, in the labor industry, right? So this was a very, very important article related to, let's say, this ILO declaration urges countries to ensure labor protection. It has written here as well that it calls for the measures to increase women's participation in the labor force and promote equal pay. So you could come across a question where they could ask you that Singapore Declaration is related to what? It is related to the rights of the laborers. So this thing is very, very important, right? Okay guys. Okay. So this was the main things that came in the today's newspaper. Now we would quickly look at the today's newspaper as well, as we always do, so that we could have a look at the news as well. So this was the rain lashes Tamil Nadu coast, we have already discussed. Now this was the interesting news, we have already discussed Collegium and National Judicial Appointment Commission. One thing they are saying, that Collegium's final decisions alone shall be put in public domain. Otherwise, the consultations that are happening, it shall not be put in public domain, only the final decisions shall be put in the public domain. It has been called by the Supreme Court, right? Okay. Again the news related to elections, no need to cover them. Again this election page. Okay. Again this election news. So this was the news that we cover, that 3 Himalayan medicinal plants enter IUCN red list. Very, very important that we try to cover, right? Okay. Nothing more here. And this was the article that we discussed, expand the food security net without any more delay. The thing that we discussed, that what this article wants to say, right? Nothing new here. Okay. This was one article that said G20 can be the UN Security Council alternative. This is important thing that we guys need to understand, right? Okay. Let's say we are now assuming the leadership of G20, and if I talk about UN Security Council, let's say this is not, we could say, helping us to achieve the permanent member status, because there is countries having veto power and we are denied the permanent seat. So how India could leverage that particular position? What UN Security Council does? It basically tries to resolve the issues like the Russia-Ukraine war. So let's say now there we have the veto power with the countries. As a result, nothing substantial comes out of this UN Security Council related to, let's say, Russia-Ukraine war. But India has now assumed the G20 presidentship. So yes, it is an economic, we could say, organization, but we have come to know that it is now talking on the terms like climate change as well, sustainable development as well, disaster management as well. So why can't this forum can emerge from the economic angle to a political angle and try to resolve the issues like Russia-Ukraine war, which is not being happening in the, let's say, UN Security Council. So this article says G20 can be the UN Security Council alternative. I hope you are getting my point, right? Okay. So this was a little article. Let's try to see further. This was all related to BJP, right? This is Gujarat model, again they are talking about. Aam Aadmi Party, nothing related to our importance. This we discussed that ILO Declaration urges countries to ensure labor protection, right? This nothing related to this. Sports page, then we had the sports page, business, nothing important, and finally we had the sports page, right? Okay. So this was it from today's news, guys. We will see each other again on Monday, but on the timings that we are regular with, that is 9 AM in the morning. So if you have any question, you can ask me. देखो, वुमेन के इंटरेस्ट को तो हमें कैलकुलेट करना ही होगा. अगर उनसे पूछे बिना हमें तो चाहिए कि उनके इंटरेस्ट को प्रमोट किया जाए. So we cannot say this is patronizing. Hindu paper fully covered with advertisement. Yes, they are now covered with a lot of advertisements, but we need to extract the maximum useful information according to our need and according to our, we could say, viability and feasibility. Right, guys? So thank you so much for joining it with us. We would now take a leave and meet each other on Monday. You have been an excellent audience and tried to be more interactive so that we guys could have a healthy conversation. Right? Okay. So I'm gonna say goodbye to all of you and see you each other again on the Monday, right? So till then, bye bye, take care. Okay, someone has a question. Okay, which article you want to ask about, Chandrasekhar ji? ILO formed हुई थी 1919 में. Anchoring article. You are talking about this ISRO, and I think ISRO article was in the, it was there somehow. Let me find the ISRO article. Yeah, this was a ISRO article. Hot test of scramjet engine and Vikram Sarabhai Space Center gets new trisonic wind tunnel, right? Okay. Editorial page I have already discussed. The UN question. Okay. Chalo guys. See you each other again. UN question we already discussed. It was UN Security Council, right? Okay. So I'm going to end the session for today. Thank you so much, guys. See, you are asking about editorial page. हाँ जी. Okay, the anchoring prices you are saying about this. This is basically related to monetary policy committee. They have increased the repo rate. We have already discussed that is in the previous class sessions, that they want to, let's say, stabilize the inflation in the market or check the price control. Inflation is coming down as global prices are also coming down, but they are saying we would keep a strong check on it and we would try to keep the inflation in the range of 2 to 6%. That is our inflation targeting framework set up by Government of India. Accordingly, RBI prepares monetary policy in order to achieve this inflation target, right? Okay guys, is it clear guys? This Chandrasekhar had this doubt, right? Okay guys, so this is it for today. Thank you so much. We would see each other next, let's say Monday, now on Monday. Thank you so much.